everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Truths We Hide podcast. Today, I am beyond, I have no words because I'm so excited to have Marshal Gillen on here. You can't even, when I get to meet him in person, I'm going to freak out. I've been following him for a few years now. We actually met on a Facebook page, entrepreneur page for a mutual friend. And the things he was doing as a speaker and as a person, it's just speechless. He's actually one of the reasons why I've come to where I am now, because he's so authentic, and I could just talk about you forever. But Marshal, I'm going to start crying. But Marshal, you tell us a little bit about you, or all about you, actually.
Yeah, 100%. Well, first off, just Annette, thank you so much for having me on and for such kind words. For anybody that's listening to this right now, you guys, I'm telling you, you're going to want to subscribe to this podcast, because the work and the effort that Annette continues to put in day out to try to hone her craft, to level up her skill set, but to be able to work through the fear, to really make friends with the fear so she can share that raw truth with you guys. I think that's something that's so special and something unique and so needed that if you guys haven't subscribed, that you're going to want to. We're going to get into an awesome story today. And that just such kind words. What are we talking about? Thank you so much. It just makes me smile like ear to ear. For those of you who don't know me, I'm just literally a regular dude who 3 years ago, coming up on April 27th was actually the day, 2017. Coming up on 3 years ago, I'm just a regular dude who was like, I'm sick of my life. But as you know, we can get into, I have a background with attempted suicide, but this was different. It wasn't like I wanted to kill myself. I was just sick of my life. I didn't want to die, but I was like, something's got to change, And so 3 years ago, I just set out on this journey because I was Annette, to be honest with you, I was mad. I was so mad that I had been trying to change my life and it wasn't working. And I would see other people complaining about it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I'm sick of you guys complaining. Like, you guys are making excuses not to change your life. And so literally I was all hyped up on Gary Vee one day, and I walked outside and I made that video. And in the video, I'm telling people I was a broke bartender at the time, 5-time college dropout, right? Attempted suicide, all these terrible things. And I had no reason at the time. I didn't know, I had no reason to think I could be a speaker. Who am I to speak? And then, so the story that I have is so crazy because you hear me say all the time, this is my story, but it's not a story about me. This is a story about you. Because if you're listening to this right now, I guarantee you there's an aspect in your life, somewhere in your health, your relationship, your job, your career, somewhere in your life where there's something you want to do and you're just not doing it because you're afraid. And that was me. I'd been wanting to be a motivational speaker for like 4 years, and I just hadn't done it because I was afraid. And so 3 years ago in April, I walked out and I made a video, and I was like, hey, this is my journey to becoming a highly paid public speaker. I don't know if it'll work. I might fall flat on my face. I don't think that I will, but I welcome you to join me on my journey. I said, this is a video for 17-year-old me. I think how old am I now? 35. So I was 32 at the time. And I was like, this is a video for the 17-year-old me. I said, but this is for all of you out there. I'm taking away every excuse that you have. That's what I said. I'm like, I'm taking away every excuse that you have. Because literally, Annette, I didn't have anything at the time. I was broke. I was renting a room off Craigslist. I had thousands of dollars in debt. Like, it was gnarly. And I just had no reason to think it was ever going to change. Yeah. And so I just decided to change it. And it's interesting because literally this morning, at the time of recording this podcast, right? This morning, I have a little morning routine, and I was in the sauna. That's how I end my day, like a little temperature therapy, my morning routine, a little temperature therapy. And I'm sitting in the sauna, or the steam room rather. And there's this guy that comes in, and we start chit chatting, and I just struck up a conversation with him. He's go, oh, we're talking about sweating, and me, I get into like a little lightweight biohacking, and I'm telling him, yeah, well, no wonder you recover and feel better because it's science. And I just kind of break it down a little bit, and he starts telling me that he's training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, BJJ. And I said, oh, that's really cool. And I started asking about it. And the first thing I asked him, I know he wasn't expecting it. I go, how long were you thinking about doing that before you actually started? And you know what he told me? Years. Really? He said, I've been wanting to do this for years. And I just haven't taken action on it. He said, but finally something inside of me just snapped. And he said, I went. He said, that was like 2 or 3 months ago. And he said, I absolutely love it. He's like, it's taught me how to get rid of my ego. It's taught me this, it's taught me that. And I just thought it was very interesting because it doesn't matter if it's like you want to speak. It doesn't matter if you want to start a podcast and get sponsored like you've done with this amazing show, or if you just want to start something as simple as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It first starts with changing the story in your head and in overcoming that fear to take action. I know that we've heard that a million times, yet it's like everybody, they hear that and they go, that can't be that simple. And so we go out and we pile on, funnel hacking this and doing this and automation and social media, and like all this stuff. It's like, no, you guys, like, whoa, like it's so simple. And so we can break that down, but that's me in a nutshell. I'm just a regular guy who wanted to change his life, and I got sick and tired of living the life I was living. And so I just went out and I found people who were successfully doing what it is that I wanted to do. And I invested time, money, and or energy into those people. I downloaded their skills into my computer, right? And I've just been taking action. And so it's not that easy. And we can get into it. But the last year of my life, especially, it was like 35 years came to a culmination last January, and I was faced with like the ultimate face off between my ego and inner self. And I'm happy my inner self won. God is good.
I can't. Yeah, I'm just watching you. I could just see your whole persona has changed. You seem happier, and like weights just lifted off your shoulders, and
so much.
It's amazing. So, what happened? When did you decide this is it? I'm gonna make a change for real.
So my story, and for those of you who don't, I'll break it down very briefly because it is very important. However, I learned something new that has completely changed my life. Actually, first off, and I don't know how many speakers or events or like masterminds you've gone to, but if you've listeners, especially too, right? You guys know if you listen to any elite high level achiever that's had like major success or wealth or fame or anything, they all have the same story. And it was all that I was down here with nothing. I was all counted out. Nobody told me I was going to do it. And then I rose up and I did it. And then they go, but then I lost it all.
Right.
And you're like, what? And you're like, yeah, but you know what? I made it all right back so quick 10 times over because I figured out it was like that last fall, right? And it almost comes, it's always pride is before the fall, which is true. Yeah. And it's always this thing where they tell the story where the arc is they get there to that turning point and they're like, I made it. Oh, but then I effed it all up and I lost everything. I had to dig down deep, and then they went back up. And so for me, the background, for those of you who don't know, actually, I've been learning so much in that I haven't even talked about. I've learned so much about myself since I've been home on this little 5-month, or that's not 4-month sabbatical. Annette and I were talking before I hopped on the show. I was telling her I've been in San Diego for 13 years, but I'm recently back at my mom's place in Illinois at the age of 35, living in a spare bedroom because I needed to take a time out from life. And it's been the most healing, beneficial thing in the entire world. And so my background, for those of you who don't know, my parents were divorced at the age of 2. My dad was an alcoholic. He beat my mom up, threw her through a door when I was little, when I was 2 years old, in front of all the neighbors. Only time you ever did anything like that, not that it's excusable by any means, but it's crazy because I have this memory of that moment, and I didn't know until just a couple of weeks ago that moment ended with him throwing her through the front door. I had completely blocked it out. Like, I remember literally up until the millisecond that it happened, I was like, oh yeah, Mom, like I remember that time. And she's like, oh yeah, that was when that happened. And so it's interesting because I learned like that was like one of the last pieces to my puzzle was hearing that story from my mom, because at that moment she's like, and they were kids back then, and my dad was just an immature, scared, nicest guy in the world, but so she tells the story of like, I'm not mad at him. I understood why he was like this. And so, she's telling me this story, and I'm like hearing these things from my past. I'm going, wow, like no wonder I'm always so fearful of being secure, of feeling rooted, of being safe. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, my parents are divorced at the age of 2. My mom gets remarried at 4. We moved to a farm. My stepdad is the worst human being ever to me. He tells me how worthless and terrible and awful I am every single day. Like a little boy, every day he tells me how terrible and awful I am, how stupid I am. Just because he was, and I didn't know until many years, but he used to hurt people. And so all that, so that led to me going out into the society, into my, community and excelling at everything. I mean, class president, prom king, team captain, standout athlete, every single thing, because I mean, women too, but especially as men growing up in, where I grew up in a lot of areas in America, a lot of areas in the world, where men especially are taught that our self-worth is only based on performance, how well you perform in the classroom, in the workplace, on the field, in the bedroom, whatever, in the locker room compared to all the guys, performance. And so the more I would go out and perform, the more I'd come back home. And even though I had the world's greatest mom ever, I couldn't figure out why my dad wanted to get drunk instead of ever hang out and seeing how awesome his kid was, and why my stepdad could only focus on how stupid and terrible I was at knowing how to do nothing on the farm. And so as a little boy, I grew up wanting to kill myself. At the age of 13, I'm like, I hate my life, And of course, my mom, it kills her to hear this, but I never told my mom, because where we come from, you don't run off and tell your mom what's up. You don't tell on it. And so for me, that just really became a lot of repressed anger and hurt. And I started to kind of.
Thank you for listening to the Truths We Hide podcast, created by A Wild Ride Called Life. To find out more about our mission, visit www.awildridecalledlife.com.
Originally, when I was 23, I tried to kill myself. And now most people think, oh, well, that's probably the worst night of your life. But that was not the worst night of my life, because I didn't tell anybody that happened. I hid it because I was embarrassed and ashamed. And I thought to myself the next morning when I woke up in the hospital alone in California, 2,100 miles away from anybody that knew who I was, I thought, wow, I'm so worthless, I can't even kill myself right. Cool. So at that moment, I didn't want to die. I didn't want to kill myself anymore, but I didn't really care to live. And so I went and got this tattoo on my chest. It says, live fast, die fun. And I was just like, yeah, let's bring it on, man. And I just lived really recklessly. And then a couple of years passed, and I met this kid named Dustin, and he ended up becoming one of my best friends. And he was a very sensitive guy, and he would say things to me like, I love you, bro. And it would make me, it's weird. It's so weird for me to even think about that being weird now, but it was weird back then. Mm-hmm. It was weird. Some guy telling me, yo, I love you, bro. And I'm like,
right.
Love you, man. Love ya. And, he really was vulnerable about things with me. About his family and the struggles he was going through, things that he wasn't telling other people. And to me, I just never seen such an act of vulnerability from another man. And now I didn't know this for a long time, but because I was still struggling with my own mental and emotional, pain and torment that I didn't even realize I was going through. Right. And so eventually, about 6 years passed, and my friend Dustin is really struggling, man. Like he's in Omaha with his now family. He's got 2 little kids and soon to be wife. He's struggling with addiction, and he gave me a call, and he's like, yo, bro, like, I need to talk to you, but I was too messed up, and I couldn't talk to him. So I let that thing go to voicemail. And so I listened to his voicemail, and it's like, yo, bro, he's crying. Marshall, it's Dustin. I really need to talk to you, man. Give me a call back when you can. All right, late. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'll call you back tomorrow. And then tomorrow I was like, oh, I'll call you back this weekend. And then it was like, oh, I'll call you back this month, because I didn't know what to say to him, because I knew what he was going through. Yeah. And I knew that I had gone through it. And I had never told him anything about that, even though he had opened up with me about everything. And I just was like, I was so fearful of facing my own insecurities and guilt and shame and anger around having tried to kill myself, that the reflection I was seeing in Dustin at the time, I couldn't even handle, because I wasn't even willing to face the deepest, darkest fears, my actual truths. I wasn't able to do that. I didn't even know that that's what it was back then. And so I just ignored Dustin. And a month later, I got a call from his sister at 4:30 in the morning, and she said that Marshal Dustin killed himself last night, and he hanged himself. And for me, that was the worst night of my life, and that morning was the worst day of my life. And I carried a lot of guilt and shame around that for a long time. I've since dealt with that, but I thought, okay, cool. That's if anybody's ever listened to me, they know my whole thing is your message. How can you turn your message, put it into your message? Yes. Because that was my triumph story. That was my, I started life down here and now here I go. Because I was like, if it's up to me, I make sure nobody ever does this again. And I got to tell my story and able to in order to do that. And so I started telling my story. As soon as I lost Dustin, I was like, I'm going to tell everybody what I've been through. Because I've always been a very open book. So I started telling people, this is what's going on. Now it's crazy because I realize some people aren't that open about things like this. I remember when many years ago in my community, a kid just out of probably 19 ended up killing himself. He was a year younger than me. And I remember his mom like having a softball tournament, and she was always talking about anti-suicide. And I remember back then I was like, oh man, Cheryl, God, ease up. That's pretty intense. And now it's so weird for me to think about because so many people are dealing with mental health issues of all sorts, whether it's they want to hurt themselves or not, but it's just like so many people, and nobody really is looking for people aren't necessarily looking for the answers as much as they're first looking for relatability. Mm-hmm. They just first off, just before somebody tells them what to do,
right?
People want to know that they're not alone. Yes. And so that's what I realized when I lost Dustin. I was just like, man, I need to tell the world they're not alone. And so I started doing that. And one thing led to another. I was able to launch a speaking and coaching business, and I was finally on my way, right? Because I knew that once I made a bunch of money and once people started to know who I was and I was telling my story and I had the freedom online and I had the business, and surely once I was Marshal Live and all the things, I was going to be happy and oh God, life was going to be so great. And finally in January of 2019, last year, I had reached the pinnacle of what I was working for so far. And I took a look around and I realized that I was the most unhappy I've ever been. I was making the most money. I had hundreds of testimonials of people who have told me that I've literally saved or changed or transformed their life. I have the perfect girlfriend on paper. We're living 21st story high rise, all luxury. We're traveling the world. And I had just never been more unhappy than I had ever been in my entire life. And I realized that there was no measure of anything that I could accomplish or acquire. And I know everybody hears this. I get it. Oh, easy for you to say, Marshall, I'll take the money and then have the problems later. No, I'm telling you, man, It only magnifies it. The amount of pressure I was living under, trying to keep up appearances. Not really, kind of keep up appearances. Mm-hmm. I didn't want everybody to know that my girlfriend and I couldn't stand each other for like 3 years. And even though we kept trying to make it work, I kept trying to do everything I could, right? And, that coupled with just all kinds of things. And it was just this very toxic situation in my life. In January 2019, I had this pain in my stomach that ended up, I think an ulcer, but something that was like incredible out of nowhere. And I just wouldn't go away, man. And I thought it was cancer. And so literally I went on this journey of spiritual healing, and I shut down my whole life in business in 2019. Actually, January 27th. Yeah, January 27th of 2019 was the third day of a 3-day speaker boot camp that I used to run called Top Paid Speaker Boot Camp. It was the last day of that boot camp, and I walked out of that boot camp and I looked at my then girlfriend at the time after everybody had left, and I said, I can never do that again. I said, I can never do one of those again. I said, I am such a fraud. I'm just so I cannot do that ever again. Now it's interesting, little side note. One of the people from that boot camp is now a private client of mine. And I was just telling her this last week. And she goes, are you nuts? Because that boot camp was like the most transformational day of my life, or a weekend of my life. But again, this is my story, but it's not a story about me. It's a story about you. And so it's like, okay, cool. Oftentimes those things that were the best are those things that we shy away from the most, because all the guilt and shame and limitations that have been put on us by other people make us feel too guilty and ashamed to possibly love something about ourselves. So we shy away from it, or we put it down, or we don't lean into it. And I discovered that when I making a bunch of money and helping a bunch of people, that was great, but it didn't fulfill what I was actually trying to do. And I was still empty. I still felt alone. And it just came down to the fact that I had all these things from my childhood that I hadn't healed. That these things that I wasn't even willing to look in the mirror and handle. Even though I'm a transformational coach and speaker, I wasn't even willing to do the deepest work.
Right.
And so, I shut my life and business down in January 2019, and literally and this is so fresh. That's why it's so interesting to me that I'm doing this podcast right now. But a lot of changes have happened. I've gone on all kinds of things, and you've seen me flip-flop. Anybody that does know me and have seen my content in 2019, I mean, I was all over. I was drowning, grasping for anything, going, this cannot really truly be happening. I know what to do. I know how to change my life. Why is it not working? Why can I not find any traction? And it was just me having to learn to surrender to God, which I didn't know at the time. Like, I'm not in control of anything. Like, I don't make my heart beat. I don't turn my food into nutrients. I don't make the sun stay at a perfect distance from the earth and hold it in time and space. Like, I don't do any of that. I have nothing to do with the fact if I wake up in the morning or not. And that started to become very surreal to me because I thought I was dying of cancer. And I thought, wow, how shameful at 34 years old, when I have this message that's ready to save the world and a talent that could do it, it's all going to go to waste because I wasn't able to take care of the one thing that I was given, which is my mind, my body, and my spirit. And so on this journey through 2019, not to weird anybody out and to keep it really short, basically what I discovered is that life is a video game. Like the movie Avatar, for example. Like, okay, so let's just, like, you don't know. There could be somebody in you playing you right now, and who would know the difference? The point of it is we get so caught up in like disconnecting and being me versus everybody out there. What I realized is like life is a video game. I'm like, literally, I'm in charge of this human avatar. And it's like any video game. You go to the main menu and you want to get the battle helmet so you don't die as quick. And then you go back onto the stage and you keep dying and you keep doing the stage over and over until you get enough coins to get the shield. Now you got the shield and the helmet and you beat the end of the stage. And then a new stage starts and you're excited and you get the end of it and you have to try like 17 times, but you collect enough coins that you go back to the main menu and you get the next level up. And I realized that's what life is. I'm like, us as people, I'm just a video game character. And by going out and trying these things and trying to get comfortable being uncomfortable, trying to make friends with fear, realizing that the more I can get closer to that toughness, that is really the end of the stage and the lesson I'm here to learn. And once I get that, I get to level up to whatever's next. And once I learned that, I go, okay, so my coins, my tokens to level up are just mentors. They're just training programs. They're just resources out there to level up my skill set so I can do whatever I wanted to do. What I realized, though, in January 2019 is I had used this skill set to make money. That was it. I was only at this point making money. I was helping other people learn how to make money from their story. And so for me, there was nothing that made me feel good about it because at the time, January last year, I still had such a low value of myself. I still had such a low opinion of myself that I could only repel money. Like I didn't even like money. It was like subconscious. People are going, what does that mean? How can you not like money? Because subconsciously, as fast as I would get it, I would get rid of it. Now, not on purpose, but subconsciously I was going, I'm not worthy of this money. I've got to get rid of it. Oh my gosh, when will I get this much money again? I surely got to take action and do this right now because I don't know if I'll ever make that money again. And so I had a very bad relationship with money last year, even though I was the top paid speaker making all the money. And so I just had to slow down and I had to concentrate on my health. And one thing led to another. I chose to believe that if I was dying of cancer, that I could self-heal it. And I started doing all these crazy things that, not even crazy, eating vegetables, meditating, doing cold therapy, going to sleep, like just simple biohacks. And whatever was going on in my stomach has completely gone away. It's my entire life, my emotions, my mind, my body, my soul, it's completely changed. And a longer story, even longer, the January 26th of this past year, I wake up, turn on the Pro Bowl to the terrible news of Kobe Bryant and his daughter and all those people they lost in the plane accident. And it hit me in a way that I didn't know that something like that could hit me. I didn't know that somebody that you didn't know and had never met could truly impact you so deeply. And I went into this trance that morning. And that, like, in the January 26th, I went into this trance and I just kind of shut down. I don't know. Even now, it's just such a crazy thing to think about. I mean, it's just, you don't see things like that happening. People of that status dying so abruptly, having their life ripped away. And I just thought like, wow, like everything that Kobe stood for and everything he did and works off the basketball court, 'cause I don't care about basketball, but like everything he did was just everything that you want to be as a leader, as a man. And something about the next day, I woke up the next day and I can't even explain that. I didn't even know what it was at first. It was this knowingness within me, like this absolute assuredness. I couldn't even tell what it was. And I walked out to my computer and I opened it up and I was like, I wonder what's going on with all the top paid speaker stuff I was doing last year. And I went back to my software where I host all of my website and funnels, and I opened it up and I started looking through all the stuff and I was going, wow, like, oh my God, look at this business I built. I forgot how awesome this was. And I go, oh my God, I know what I'm supposed to do. And all of a sudden, can't make it up, didn't plan it, January 27th of 2020, 1 year to the day that I walked out on top paid speaker, I opened it back up and it was like God was like, okay, bro, you're good, time in. And I'm like, I know exactly what I'm supposed to do now. And so it's been this wild, crazy journey where I've learned that like, there's a lot of us that are doing some big things and we're really trying our best, but until you're really truly willing to go into the depths, the darkest, the places where you get the most anger, where you have the most resistance, until you're willing to do that, which Annette, you watch me go through that every single day because I'm always very public about what I do because I want to be able to live my life as a way for people to look at and go, okay, this is what I can expect. I'm never saying I'm going to get it right. Most of the times I get up, you know what I mean? But I do that like on the go. I'm on the fly. I'm going, look, it doesn't stop me. I'm not embarrassed. If you want to shame me because I'm trying to better my life, then I'm probably better off without you. Bless you, brother. Good luck. You know what I'm saying? And so now here, I ended up on this show and I'm just getting an opportunity to connect with people like you who are actually doing big things in the world and on a mission to tell their story and help more people. And like, I'm getting that is enough. I don't need to drive a Lamborghini or be in Bali to truly make a difference. Yeah, will that excite me? And will that excitement maybe be happiness? Yeah, at times. But yeah. I have found peace and joy. And so what you see in me now is it's a peace, it's joy, it's knowingness, it's an understanding that I'm not in control. And what makes it beautiful is that I get to experience grief. I get to experience strife. I get to experience tribulation because I also get to experience happiness and love and excitement and elation. Like being alive is the yin and the yang. It's a give and the take. And so now that I've learned to become that awareness, that consciousness, and understand that my body is just a borrowed energy that has to return to the earth, well, then it's like you said, it's just a wild ride. It's like, cool. I wake up in the morning, I go, it's literally like, you hear life as a garden. It's true. I wake up in the morning, metaphorically, I grab my coffee, I walk outside and look at my garden. I go, damn, what's growing today? And we don't bear fruit every day. It's the excitement of knowing like, oh, I get to get dirty today. Oh, it's springtime out. I've been waiting to get out and get in the mud. I'm excited to dig and plant. Right. Oh, hey, I'm excited to grab my coffee and go out and eat sprouts today. Oh, not today, maybe tomorrow. Oh, look at today. There's a sprout. Oh my God. Like literally, it's like having a garden. Like it's the same thing. They think they want everything right now, but that would be no fun. If you could instantly have everything, if you could have anything, anytime you wanted, you would get so bored with life. And I've gotten to a place now in that where I've become at peace and knowing I'm not in control. And when I can, like, full transparency, the reason I brought up Avatar, I was watching it last night. Haven't watched it in a long time. At the end, I was crying. Like, I was crying. You know, I was crying because my heart hurt that I don't have a woman to love. Like, I want to love somebody, but I wasn't sitting here crying like, oh, woe is me. I can't explain it. As I was crying, like, feeling that emotion, honoring it, at the same time, I was kind of like, I mean, it wasn't kind of, I am. I don't want to get too woo-woo for anybody that's listening. I was crying and feeling that emotion, but at the same time, I was looking at it and observing it going, oh my gosh, look how amazing life is. I get to feel this emotion. And when I find her in his perfect timing, it's going to be so it's going to be so amazing. It's going to be so amazing. And so what you see is it's not happiness. It's peace and joy. And that's where it comes from. Is going, hey, yo, cool, God, geez, I'm alive today. I'm plugged back into the matrix. I'm back in the game. Hell yeah. Let's go out and see what the garden of life is grown today. And I just think, you know, when I walk out of the gym and I get to look at the lady that's sitting there and go, hey, have an excellent day. And she goes, thank you. I walk out and I'm walking a little bit taller. And I string enough of those moments together throughout my day, and I come home and I go, wow, I feel really good about the person I was today. And the more I continue to feel good about who I am, and the more I focus on who I being, who do I want to be today over what do I have to do today. If I can focus on what I have to be today versus what I have to do, everything changes. Because if I focus on who do I have to be today, then I'm going to take inspired action to do the things I need to do, and then I get to have the things I want to have. And so you've probably heard this before. It's different than waking up and going, oh man, what do I have to do today so I can have the things I want to have, so I can finally be the person I want to be? And that's backwards. And so, yeah, that's who Marshall is in a nutshell. As I'm on this journey to let everybody know, hey, yo, you're complete control of your life if you want to be. It's not easy, but it's simple. And it's so rewarding, because at the end of that long tunnel of fear, those years of thinking, man, do I want to do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu or not? And then finally taking action on it. It's the most glorifying thing in the world. It's the most liberating, empowering. Like, I can't even explain it. It's just peace and joy. And so in that instance, that's what I've been up to. And I'm prepared to be like, I'm like, dude, I'm going to be the #1 motivational speaker of all time. Like, this is my goal. The more kids, the more schools, the more universities I can speak at, the more people I get to help. And Dustin and I get to spread our message and share our story. And so, that's why I was attracted to somebody powerful like you. And I'm honored to be here on your show.
I love it, Marshall. I think one of the most important things that I'm getting from this message is enjoying the little things. Just appreciating it. Because I know there's times where I'm like, man, I got to make dinner, or I got to take my son to school. No, I get to take my son to school today. Exactly. I get to figure out what he's going to want to eat today. I'm trying to make it. Not everybody gets that. Not everybody gets to wake up and get the chances to do everything you want to do throughout the day. We forget that. I
mean, Vanessa Bryant wants to take Gigi to school and make Kobe Bryant. I mean, I know he's famous. I'm not trying to be up, but you know what I'm saying? It's like literally. And so it's like, I know you've heard that, depression comes from living in the past, and anxiety comes from living in the future. And it's good to visualize and it's good to observe emotions, but I'm telling you, there's been absolutely zero more powerful than me learning how to be present and now. There's tons of books on it. What taught me was the Wim Hof method, getting in the cold ice water, because there's no place to go. Like, you can't run. There's no place to be but present. And so I think that's the one thing, is that you're absolutely right. There's nothing more powerful than, but you can't learn to be present until you deal with your demons and heal the pain of your past. Because otherwise you're just repeating, literally at like a biological level, at a cellular and molecular level. The DNA stored in your body, the information stored inside the DNA, right? It's just repeating a learned condition, a pattern. And you can't break free of that unless you are consciously trying to change your patterns. And so it's easy to go, oh, the power of now is be present, but there's so much buildup to be able to be present. Right. It starts with creating the habit of being present every day, being mindful, right? But it's the secret. Like, that's the secret to life.
It is. And it's so, God, this is so powerful. I hope everybody that's listening really digs deep and, really figure out what's making you happy and what do you need to heal.
Self-awareness.
It is. You have to. Marshall, we could talk forever. I'm really grateful that you came on here.
Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it.
Tell us where we can find you to continue to get your words of wisdom. And let me just, before we do that, ever since I heard you say your message, I've been using it, and I always think about you, because it is. If you think of it that way, you're going to be like, holy crap, you are so right.
Yeah, because then you realize you get to do this. Like, everything I went through with Dustin, my attempted suicide, I learned that was my gift at the age of 32. I'm going to live to be 120. Yes. So that's like 90. I get 90 more years.
You can do it.
Years to do this. Like, it's a gift, right? If your job is how you make money, but your work is your gift.
Yes.
And this is my gift.
It
you
is.
can find me on any social media channel, but Instagram is where I live at, where I hang out at Marshal Gillen. Go check it out if you want some motivation, some inspiration. that's the place to go get it. I want to help you tell your story. I live to help you tell your story. And so if I can ever be of any assistance, just hit me up on Instagram. Let's be pals. That's what I do.
Love it. I love it. And thank you for helping me share my story.
Thank you for stepping up and actually taking action and doing that.
Yes, I am. And I have you to thank. Thank you so much. And
awesome.
I can't wait to continue to see what you're going to do for the next 90 years.
Go subscribe to this lady's channel right now. And that's the woman.
Thank you.
Now. Subscribe.
Thanks, Marshall.
Yeah. I'll talk to you guys later.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.